Welcome to Global Guardians studio session with Mario Aldecoa and myself, Trent Underwood. This is going to be another part to Global Guardians. It's not going to be just in the field with different guests, but it'll be with me and you. And we have a lot of stories to tell as well, because we've been to a lot of places, we've met a lot of people and seen a lot of crazy things.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Global Guardians Studio Sessions is a step back from the field, a little bit of a behind the scenes look as to what we do, who to expect as our next guest, deeper dives into some of our episodes.
Right.
It's a little bit more of a chill corner, a chill vibe.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool because we had this idea for a podcast, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And that's actually when we bought most of this equipment. And I spent a week doing this wood wall in here, went to Home Depot and bought, 30 boxes and was in here hammering and nailing. And then we sidelined it. We got really busy with a lot of different projects, and we're back. We're revisiting it because this is something that's passionate to us, and we really wanted to get it going.
I think the biggest question, though, is why another podcast?
Why
does the world need another podcast?
I think the world needs a little less podcasting equipment for sure, because equipment, yes. Because if there's less equipment, then there's not as many people doing it, right? Everyone and their brother, as we've spoken many times, everyone and their brother has a podcast. You go on TikTok and Instagram, and it's because everyone feels they've got something unique to say, I guess. I mean, and we're no one to judge, I guess.
And you know what? That's okay, because I think podcasts have taken hold of people that want content that's a little bit more substantial.
Yeah.
I am an avid podcast listener. Throughout the week, I'm listening to several podcasts as I'm driving to work, as I'm cooking. It's a way for me to relax and to actually learn something instead of just scrolling or doom scrolling, as it's called.
Yeah.
So it was natural for us to develop a podcast because, well, we do a lot of cool things, admittedly.
We do, yeah.
I'm not one to brag, but we do a lot of cool things, and we meet a lot of cool people.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's a location that we've been that we either haven't met someone really cool or just interesting. You know, we've met a lot of people that are like, nah, it's a quirky person, or someone who's got a really cool background story or a unique job. And that's what I think is cool about wildlife is you don't encounter these people in a city. You know, you're not going to encounter some of these conservationists in Columbus, Ohio. But when you get out there in the field, you're in Japan, you're in Costa Rica, you're in the grit and the grime, people start surfacing. I mean, we were just in Costa Rica recently, and we met a whole new set of people that have access to different animals, like the Bushmaster that you've been seeking. And I think that's what makes all of these trips unique is the people that we meet, not just the animals, not just the location, but the people, because that's what keeps us wanting to come back to a place is, hey, you know, we really enjoyed working with that person. We really enjoy the stuff that you're trying to do in conservation. So we would like to meet back up again, you know?
Yeah. So that's how we got the idea for Global Guardians.
Yeah.
Now it's all in the name, right? Global because, well, we travel around the world, and Guardians because the people that we are meeting and that eventually will make it as guests onto our podcast, are guardians doing something to protect the globe, protect the planet, some type of positive impact. Now, we are a little bit skewed to wildlife because I love wildlife, but that's where you come into play because you like the tech side of stuff, engineering. And the one thing we want to emphasize is Global Guardians is anyone who is doing some type of positive impact, no matter the title, no matter their position. So we thought that there is no other podcast like this currently out there. There's a lot of fantastic podcasts, but we saw that there was a little bit of a niche or space, and that's where Global Guardians is hopefully filling that niche.
Yeah. And we, like you said, we've done a lot of searches to see if there's anybody doing like an elaborate wildlife podcast and doing it in the field, because this is something we're learning as we go. You know, we've put a few under our belt, and each one has had their own unique set of issues, but the major one is always audio. No matter where you go in the world, audio will always be a problem. A plane, a truck, someone with a jackhammer. When you think you're in the most remote, quiet place in the world, you're like, hold for sound.
Yeah. And when it comes to podcasts, likely many people are listening to this episode, and we want the sound quality, audio quality to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
So Global Guardians, we came up with the conception. We conceptualized Global Guardians, about a year ago?
Yeah, well, the podcast, I think, probably about 2 years ago, but it wasn't Global Guardians yet. It was kind of a Brave Wilderness podcast where we would have Coyote and different other guests. And I mean, this table was built for that purpose, to have potentially 2 to 4 people on camera at once. And then, yes, about a year ago, it evolved into Global Guardians.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a key word, and that's Brave Wilderness. So I think we got to give the audience a little bit background as to you and I.
I agree.
Because why should we host a podcast, right?
What makes us qualified?
Qualifies us, right?
Yeah.
So,
let's start with you. I mean, you, like you said, you're a passionate wildlife expert, and you have a background that goes deep into wildlife conservation down in South Florida. So tell us a little bit about that coming up.
Yeah, I'm not one to usually hype myself up, but I'll give you my background. I grew up in South Florida.
Beautiful place.
Yep, definitely a beautiful place. I'm currently in Ohio, and
you love it, right?
Every day it hurts. Every day it hurts. So born in South Florida, I've loved animals since I can remember. It's just ingrained in me. Growing up in South Florida allowed me to get in touch with nature by simply going into my backyard, and I'd see like the little anoles and other reptiles and amphibians and insects, and I would catch them and study them, look at them, and quickly I was like, yeah, this is all I want to do. I just want to work with animals, and that then motivated me to pursue a degree in biology. So I have a degree in biology with a focus on wildlife. So thus I'm a wildlife biologist. But even before my degree, I was lucky enough to start volunteering at a wildlife sanctuary when I was a teenager. And that kind of like shaped my life. Like it kind of opened up a lot of doors, and like the people I met, the experience I got, which eventually led me to a fantastic position as the manager of a crocodile monitoring program
at a nuclear facility, right?
At a nuclear facility, yeah. So very unique position. I was fairly young. I was still in school, getting my degree, but I was given this opportunity to manage a program where we monitored American crocodiles, which are a threatened species in South Florida. They were endangered, but thanks to efforts of many biologists, they were downlisted. And one thing most people don't know is that South Florida is the only place in the world where there are both
alligators and crocodiles.
Alligators and crocodiles.
Which is pretty cool that they can both be floating around in the same area, unlike any other place on the planet.
Yeah, pretty cool. So anyways, that, I landed this fantastic job where I would cruise around on airboats. During the nesting season of crocs, I'd find nests. I'd wait till they hatched, catch the hatchlings temporarily, mark them, release them for nearly a decade. And in between that, I also had a lot of side gigs where I did different productions. When Animal Planet or Discovery Channel wanted to film crocs or reptiles, they'd call me and I would take them out. And so I quickly got into the world of production as well.
And you were already doing like photography of a lot of these animals, right, at the time? So you had a bit of an advantage when these productions did come in because you understood a little bit of that world already. I mean, it's a stark difference from the background of Ohio, where it's cold, it's dreary. Wildlife is a couple deers, raccoons, some mammals running around, birds. We don't have crocodiles or lions or tigers or jaguars. So we make do, me growing up here was, you have to find other avenues to have fun. Like when I was a kid, often you go ride your bikes, you go dig holes, whatever you can do. There was a neighbor of mine who would always come over and be like, hey, let's go dig some holes.
Interesting.
So, that's what we would do as a kid. We didn't have animals to go explore, but Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting place down in South Florida. I mean, I've been down there several times on productions together with you at some of your old places of work, and like the Everglades Alligator Farm, which is a really interesting place where you did alligator shows. So explain a little bit to the audience what an alligator show is, and was this something that you really wanted to do?
Yeah, I guess I got ahead of myself a little bit. So there was a point in my life where I'm in high school. I'm desperate to get out of high school because I have found this really cool wildlife sanctuary that I started to volunteer at, which was associated with the Everglades Alligator Farm, which is a tourist attraction in Homestead, Florida. So they don't like kill the alligators for their meat or anything, but it's just called the Alligator Farm. And tourists could come and see hundreds of alligators and see some like educational shows. Mm-hmm. Luckily for me, the owner of the wildlife sanctuary managed the alligator farm, and I showed interest in alligators. And he's like, well, when you turn 18, you've got a job at the alligator farm. You could work with the alligators. And I was like, heck yeah. So I went through my rest of my high school career, and as soon as I graduated, I moved to Homestead. I was like, all right, Mom, Dad, see ya. Yeah. Moved to Homestead from Miami and started working at the alligator farm. Now, it came with, I thought I was just going to work with alligators, and like feed them and do that. But I was thrown into the wolves, or I should say thrown into the alligators, and that I also had to do educational, like reptile shows.
Right, yeah.
I had to do, 9 shows throughout the day.
And what is the average length of a show? 30,
15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes.
So snake show, alligator feeding, snake show, alligator alligator feeding, snake show, alligator show. So that's 8.
And you would do this every day, like 5 days a week, 7 days a week, or off and on?
I worked part-time because I was also going to school.
Right.
So anyways, that meant that I had to get in front of an audience and present and talk, hopefully make them laugh, hopefully allow them to learn something. Mm-hmm. And that was difficult. So I was 18 years old in front of an audience pretending to be an expert. And it took me a while to kind of get my groove. But like anything in life, eventually I learned how to do it. And I did that for several years as I went to school part-time to get my degree in biology. And then I got some other positions doing some research, and then eventually the crocodile stuff at Turkey Point.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine you telling people, I drive airboats around and pull Crocs out of a nuclear facility. I mean, this is what I was saying earlier about meeting people in wildlife. Like, okay, that's an interesting story. Like you're not working a simple basic job that doesn't have a crazy background. That is something that is unique and special. That's a very special thing. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm leaving a little bit of years and details out, but essentially, I would say this: from the age of 15, when I found the wildlife sanctuary called the Everglades Outpost, and I started volunteering there, up until present, has been nonstop. Yeah, has been nonstop, just like pursuing what I enjoy and what I love.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, like, you were just recently talking to me about going on a trip to do some Global Guardian stuff, but also doing some croc research with some buddies of yours that you used to do stuff with, so that you're still able to dabble in what your passion was at a young age, which is really cool. That you still have that connection with your buddy Chris and Mike, who are able to take you out on these crazy croc adventures down in Costa Rica, still allowing you to keep from getting rusty at your craft.
I'm a biologist by heart, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I also work for Brave Wilderness.
Yep.
As you do as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of the official biologist for Brave Wilderness, but also cinematographer, producer, host. I mean, we do it all.
Yeah.
But I'm still active in the world of like kind of crocodile research and monitoring. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting to see where you've come from. I mean, I've known you a little over 6 years. I came on Brave Wilderness in 2018, and this journey at Brave Wilderness started for you 2012-ish. Was it like 2011? Like this when you first met the guys, Coyote and Mark, right?
Yeah, well, once again, it goes back to the fact that there was a point in my life where I was doing so many different projects. And one of the projects, or one of my gigs, was anytime there were production companies in South Florida that wanted to go to the Everglades or wanted to work with crocodilians or reptiles, they would hire me. And sure enough, I think it was 2011, Mark and Coyote and Chance, the original Brave crew, before Brave Wilderness, came down to South Florida, hired me. I took him out. We filmed some stuff for like a pilot series they were trying to pitch to Discovery Channel. They left, and I was like, all right, cool. Another production crew. I got paid, and I'll never talk to them again.
Right.
3 years later, 2014, they called me, and they're like, hey, we want to work with you again. We want to showcase the crocodile work that you're now doing, and we need to redo some of the stuff that we filmed in 2011. And we did that. Successful shoot. They told me like, hey, this is for YouTube. This is for our channel, Brave Wilderness. Literally brand new, 2014. And because I also like can film and I understand the production world, I was always a great asset to all these production companies. Like I knew, like if they want to get certain shots, like I would anticipate it. I would help them get those shots. I understood the animals, which is very important. And most importantly, I could grab a camera and get into like the danger zone, perceived danger zone, right? That I am comfortable with and get that shot for them. So after that shoot, they're like, hey, do you want to go to Arizona with us like next month? I was like, I've never been to Arizona. There's a lot of cool reptiles there.
Yeah, there is.
Sure. All right. We can't pay you, but we'll pay for your trip.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll make it happen. So I was juggling like 3 jobs. I was juggling school. And literally that was the start of my career with Brave Wilderness. I was freelance with Brave Wilderness for like 2 or 3 years. Finally, the channel, which I witnessed just grow exponentially super fast. Eventually they're like, well, Mario, we kind of need you full time. And this is not sustainable, like what you're doing, meaning we can't have you go back to Florida and do all these other jobs. And honestly, I knew it wasn't sustainable. And so in 2017, I started full-time Brave Wilderness and moved to Ohio.
Yeah. Which, by the way, while we're filming this, it is 12, 13 degrees outside. So drastically different from your upbringing in South Florida. So very, very unique background. And I think that's what I love about you is that, in Ohio, meeting a lot of different people as I grew up, I'd never met someone like you because that field just doesn't exist here. So it's really cool to see. And this is why we love doing this podcast and why we love traveling, because we get to meet people that are eclectic, unique and special and have cool stories. And hence this whole idea for this podcast.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm probably skipping some stuff, but, our characters will be revealed over time. But yeah, that's a little bit of my origin story. Now, we got to learn about Trent Underwood.
Yeah. What did I do coming up?
Trent Underwood. I mean, you grew up in Ohio.
Yeah.
So already you have a bit of a challenge with the seasons. I mean, every winter, what do people do here? I mean, I'm still even learning what to do during the winter, how to keep sane. But with you, because of the person that you are and the curiosity that you have, I know that you always keep yourself busy.
Yep.
And one way you keep yourself busy is by learning new things.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm not ever since I was little, I like to understand how things work, whether that's tech, whether that's a system, whether that's a car, like anything. I have to know, and I still am like this. Like I'll be in bed at night and I've put the phone away and something will trigger and I'm like, I have to know before I go to sleep. I need to know. And it's just like, it'll just keep me up at night if I don't. So believe it or not, before I kind of went into the creative mindset, creative field, I really liked engineering. And my brother's actually an aeronautical engineer, so he shares that passion as well. But I was not great at math, and I hated math. I hated doing physics and chemistry. I'm like, I'm never going to need this. Like a lot of kids in high school, like, oh, why do I need to know X plus Y plus C? Now, I haven't ever really needed some of the higher level math, but would I have benefited from learning it and paying more attention? For sure. But yeah, as I grew older, not very much older, like maybe 13, 14, I was like, computers were still very rudimentary. We were using floppy disks and CD drives. Like I was transferring photos via floppy drive and then sending them on a CD, and then flash drives came out, and like there was this pretty rapid climb of technology that I got to experience. And I'm sure you did as well, like recording songs from the radio on a tape. And I got into graphic design because graphic design was very cheap and easy to do because you just needed Adobe. And I was really good with LimeWire and BitTorrent. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but I downloaded all my music, and I don't know if the government's watching or not. But
you're the type of person that if someone wanted a burnt CD,
if you needed anything digital, I could get it for you.
You're that guy.
I could get it for you. You want 100 movies on a flash drive, I can get it for you, and I did. I mean. To be honest, I don't know that I ever paid for a CD or a movie ever. So I was very proficient with computers and tearing them apart, putting them back together. And my dad was actually an IT manager, and then became president of a banking company. So I'd often go see him at work and be around all these people that he was managing that were tech people. And that's when I was like, man, I really like the computer stuff and tech. And I like graphic design too, but the graphic design was like a side thing. And I was doing stuff on Photoshop and Illustrator, and then I was in a band around 17, 18. And that's where I really started getting into it because, band members, they need CD covers. Like CD covers was a big thing. You needed the front, the back, you needed T-shirts, you needed stickers. So there was a couple local bands in Columbus that I was playing with that I'd be like, hey, yeah, I can do your stuff. Like this is what I can do. And that was when I was working at Best Buy. This all was happening at the same time, and I got my first camera, the Rebel XTI.
Canon Rebel.
Yeah, and you had an XT, right? Was
XT,
your first one? Yeah. So I got that camera because when you're doing graphic design, you need a lot of like assets sometimes to put together a collage or something. And at the time, the stock photo websites just weren't up to par yet. So I got that camera, and then, I started doing senior photo shoots, weddings, basically anybody who had a paycheck. I'm 16 years old, and I'm out here, slinging with the camera and trying to do work. And I was also a mechanic at the time. I was working on cars. I was working at Best Buy and doing an internship. I was working 4 jobs essentially at once, all of which were kind of drastically different, learning tech, learning sales, learning vehicle repair, which in life there's a lot of things that you can learn that are money making and money saving. Cars is one. So yeah, I got down the road of graphic design, and then I graduated to the 5D Mark III. And that's when I was at Ohio State at the time, and I had done my first 2 years in associate degree at Columbus State to be graphic design. And the original plan was to always work for like an ad agency, do graphic design, web design. I was very good with that. I used to do people's custom MySpace pages, where you would have a page that looks completely different. I would code all the different MySpace. So that was kind of the field I was looking to go into. And then I started to see a little bit of the writing on the wall with graphic design at an early age. I was like, we started to see Wix and Squarespace and Fiverr, and I'm like, graphic design is going to be a bit of a struggle in the future because the competition is going to be tenfold. And I was right, as many people probably were, that like it was going to become, pay was going to be less, and somebody might say, hey, I'll do a logo for $20. It's like, well, I would do logos for $300, so it's kind of hard to. It's like, well, you go do the $20 logo. It's going to be a different experience. So that is when I ultimately decided to stop doing graphic design and went to Bowling Green, which is in Northern Ohio. Go Falcons! And I started doing video. And there was a YouTube creator that was my inspiration for basically all of what I got into video. And that was Devin Supertramp, which you guys actually had worked with.
I met him,
and I don't think that video had come out yet, but at the time he had a 5D Mark III and a glide cam, and I had that same exact setup. And I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I'm just going to start filming stuff with this camera. Like, I mean, I was only using it for photography, but it was a powerhouse for HD video. I mean, it was a low light powerhouse for both photo and video. So yeah, I started doing videos with it, and I graduated from school at Bowling Green. And at the time, I only had 3 or 4 videos that I had ever really done. Everything in my portfolio was graphic design. I mean, an extensive amount of graphic design and websites. And, you know, like a lot of people that get into video, like, oh, I'm going to move out to LA, I'm going to work on a movie, blah, blah, blah. And then you start to do some research on the cost of living in some of these cities where, like LA, Miami, Chicago, and you realize that might not be as feasible. So I just started shooting a lot of videos, you know, pro bono, free. Like if I knew somebody was doing something cool, like, hey man, I'll cover this for my portfolio. And shortly before starting at Brave Wilderness, I had dropped a lens, and on the way home from a shoot, and it shattered. It was my Canon 50mm, the Nifty 50. And I was like, I was so fed up. I was like, you know, I'm trying to get all these other video contracts, and, you know, I'm now competing with 4K, and I have a 1080 camera. Like the 5D Mark III is burned out. So I was like, I'm just going to go buy a Sony 4K. And I had a buddy who was doing a fight. He's like a pro fighter. And I said, hey, would you mind if I covered that, like filmed a documentary on your road to this big state title? And if possible, can I film at the event? And so, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm down. I mean, anybody would be down to be like, yeah, I'm going to get a free documentary. Let's go. So I went and filmed all of his training, all of his prep, the weigh-in, and got to film at the fight, like ringside. The guys that were running it were like, yeah, go ahead. Put together this video, and actually one of our editors here is the one who saw that video and like saw my resume, and I had reached out through Indeed back in 2018, and then the rest was history. I came on, and, you know, like, who knows, you know, right? We never know. Like if that 50mm didn't break, and I wasn't frustrated, and I didn't go buy another camera, and I didn't, you know, because I was in a state of mind where I'm like, you know, do I really want to do video? You know, it's a lot of hustling and grinding. And like when you're freelance, as you know, with some of your freelance work, you know, you're chasing a check, you know, you're putting in the work, you're going out, you're talking to people, you're getting a lot of no's, like, maybe, like, can we go a little bit cheaper? You're like, well, I'm bringing 10K worth of equipment. Like, what do you mean cheaper? So you're dealing with a lot of those things. And that's kind of, I was not necessarily depressed, but just like, is this the path forward? And obviously hindsight it was the right move, because we're sitting here today and we've had an extensive amount of work we've done and knowledge we've gained in both tech and wildlife. So yeah, I'm very happy about the kind of the path that I had to get here, because I always say that I didn't have a conventional path. I went to Columbus State to get an associate degree. Then I transferred to Ohio State, didn't want to do the graphic design there, and then went to Bowling Green. So 3 colleges. And when I moved to Bowling Green, I had knew nobody. You know, it was like a whole new place, a whole new set of people. But because of being in those environments and being thrown into the unknown, which I prefer to be, I operate very well in the unknown. Like, you can throw me in a room with 50 people that I don't know, and by the end of that night, I'll know all those people, their stories, because I like to listen to people. I like to meet cool people. You know, I'm not someone that sits and like brag. I mean, I'm sure you get a lot of people like, dude, your job's so cool. You get to do all this cool stuff. And oftentimes like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. But like, I don't like to brag about the stuff we do, because I came from a humble background. I worked very hard in everything that I do. All my skill sets that I have, I intentionally worked hard at those. And I still do. I mean, I'm not someone who can't stop learning. I mean, I'll be 90 years old and learning something.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Sorry.
It's very evident. There's a few takeaways there that I can relate with. Not a conventional path, right?
Not a conventional path at all.
I think both of us have not had a conventional path, but that's not bad.
No.
Right?
It teaches us.
Yeah. Second, hustle.
Yeah. The hustle.
I know that I had a drive. Very clear that you had a drive, and that drive, at least for me, wasn't necessarily money. It never was money. It was experiences.
Yeah.
Third, as you said, you had tons of jobs.
Yep.
So that's something that's like, well, I think I had like 4 jobs at one point. I remember doing
same.
taxes was crazy. And finally, sometimes you need to do things for free.
Yeah.
Right.
And that'll be tough.
That's the tough part.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of stuff for free throughout my career, volunteering, just trying to get into the door, trying to meet the right people. And I think that usually pays off.
Yeah, because if you might miss out on a super cool opportunity that will teach you a lot if you say no to something that's free. I mean, there was many things that I shot and filmed that were free or like way less than I would charge normally, because I didn't want to relinquish that knowledge that I was going to gain.
Yeah,
from
it's another experience
Right.
that you learn from. And what's very clear is that it seemed like from a young age you would find something like you needed, and instead of going the easy route of like maybe hiring someone or finding an expert, it seemed like you then tried your hardest to become the expert.
Oh yeah, I mean the biggest thing that I ever did was I can't remember if I was like 18 or 19, but I was coming home from Columbus. I lived in Lancaster, which is like about 30 minutes south of Columbus, and I had a Mitsubishi Eclipse. And almost home.
Of course you had an Eclipse.
I had two of them. You
burnt CDs. You had an Eclipse.
Yep.
You were in a, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious.
I know you.
Fast and Furious is my favorite
I
movie
know
of the
that
time.
type of person.
Yeah.
I had many of those in my school.
I had a crazy sound system in there too. Yeah. You knew I was coming down the road. Like,
and likewise, you had many of me in your school.
Yep. So I was coming home from Columbus. White smoke started pouring out of the car, and I immediately like, yep, look at the engine's blown. Like, head gaskets fried. Like the car is inoperable at this point. And the cost was going to be like $4,000 or $5,000. And my parents always said, if you want to drive a car, you're paying the insurance, you're paying the gas, you're paying the repairs. Within reason, they would help me out. Like if my car is completely inoperable, and I was like, I don't have the $4,000. I was working as a mechanic. I was working minimal jobs while in school. And I said, I'm just going to rebuild this entire car myself. So in the garage, I laid out tables and I tore apart the entire engine. I took everything out, piston rods, all of it. I had never done this before. My skill set was undercarriage of the vehicle, miniatures or small repairs and things. And I watched YouTube videos, a lot of how-to videos, like do this, do that, torquing, blah, blah, blah. And eventually I needed to tow it to a buddy's house that had a lot more room and some more higher-end tools. And I rebuilt the whole thing in about a month and a half from the ground up, no knowledge of ripping a car apart like that. And nothing was more exciting than that day that I was like, fired it back up after a complete rebuild. And so, I mean, I think that, I could have gone somewhere, paid for it, but I gained a lot of knowledge. So most people shell out a lot of money for car repairs. I have never, ever gone to a mechanic unless I have no time to do the repair. But I have saved thousands because of that. And that's where I was saying there's things you learn in life that are going to save you money and make you money, and they're both important.
Mm-hmm. But that's just a testament to your passion to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And which makes you a fantastic member of the Brave Wilderness team. I mean, currently, right, throughout our time together, the several years that we've been out in the field, I could always rely on you to be like, Trent, I'm having an issue with this camera or something, or we've got to figure this thing out, and you will figure it out, whether it's designing your own component with your 3D printing that you're doing now. So I think you bring a lot of resources to the table.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's like a little bit of a yin and a yang, because I'm a little more like press the gas pedal, like don't worry about it. Whereas you're more like, all right, let's, I don't know, the little more apprehensive of things. And I think that's good to have, because when you have two people that are apprehensive, nothing gets done. And when you have two people that are press the gas pedal, then the wrong things get done.
You've got to have that yin and yang. And that complements each other. But we also have a lot of things in common. And I think the biggest thing in common is just we want to learn.
We want to learn,
And that brings us back to this podcast. I love listening to podcasts because the podcasts I listen to, inevitably, I'm going to learn something.
Right.
And whether it's consciously, like you're like, oh yeah, that's a cool fact, or subconsciously that like, later on how many times do I come up to you, Trent? Like, I'm like, dude, I just learned this fact.
Yeah,
on this podcast
daily. I mean, if you're not coming up to me, you're sending it to me in a reel, and vice versa.
Yeah. So we both have a passion for learning, and oftentimes I enjoy learning from people, and that goes back to the privilege of us traveling around the world and not only encountering amazing wildlife that checks off like so many of my dream species
Right.
and dream things that I've had since childhood, but also meeting the people that are protecting those species.
Yeah.
What better way to learn than from experts in the field? And you and I also have the ability to become friends with people very easily. You more so. You're very accurate that you could become friends with 50 people in a room, like no problem. But we become friends with these experts.
Yeah.
And over time, we get to know them further. And we were like, well, what if we did a podcast where we could interview these people and learn more of their backstory, and most importantly, give them a voice, give them a platform to share like their passion and their initiatives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we often at times when I come back, especially from a long trip, you get a lot of people asking, "Oh, how was this? That was crazy. What did you do? Who is these people you met?" And it's really hard to describe some of these people in a very little brief sentence to people when you come back, because I usually don't want to tell the same story 10 times. Like, I lived it, I'm there. That's why I try to keep my Instagram stories popping off when I'm on a trip. So that is the documentation. But I mean, when I come back and, I tell like Casey, for example, the amount of time we spent in Katmai in a very intimate level, where we're all sleeping in tents together and we're out hiking together, we're surviving together. You learn a lot about somebody, and it's oftentimes way too much to ever say in a couple sentences. And that's where it's like, we came to this podcast, like, this is our opportunity, not only to give someone a voice about whatever conservation efforts they're doing, but to let them talk and explain themselves a little bit about what they do and who they are, because they deserve that. I mean, and there's a lot of people that are humble and they wouldn't want to, put themselves on a pedestal, but we want to put them on a pedestal because what they're doing is amazing, and it's all over the world, and we have so many more people to meet. I mean, we already have an extensive list of people to interview on top of the 6 people that we have already banked. So yeah, I mean, it's really exciting that we're able to do this podcast, and not just in the studio. Like the main unique part about this podcast, which people will realize after this episode, is that it's in the field. We're taking all the camera equipment, the mics, everything out into the field where these people are and in their world, which is really cool because there's no one really doing that. And I think we know why, because there's a lot of technical struggles to get it going, but we've got a little bit of a recipe now, and that's exciting because we're getting ready to launch the entire podcast here shortly. By the time this comes out, it's up. So
yeah, I think what makes Global Guardians unique is the classic Brave Wilderness dilemma, and that is we want to do things as the best we can.
Right.
Right?
As cinematic as possible.
As cinematic. Yeah. It's the Trent and Mario and Coyote and everyone involved with Brave Wilderness dilemma. Like, yeah, we could release it, like most people release stuff, maybe not the best quality, but no, we want best quality everything, cinematic. Yeah. Want to use the best cameras, want to give the best stories. And that's what sets Global Guardians apart, I think, from other podcasts, is that we put the extra effort, which is not easy.
No,
at all.
Definitely not. No.
We've learned that so far in the 6 episodes that we've produced, from filming in the jungle, having different lighting conditions mess up the exposure, to cicadas in the background messing up the audio. But hopefully it's going to give the listeners and the viewers a different experience.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. I mean, I have just shown a few people some of the rough cuts, and everyone's like, this is really cool. Like, this is something special. And, we're a little too close to it right now. We've been spending countless hours in the edit bay and pre-pro meetings, out in the field filming, because up to this point, you've filmed most of them with guests, and I'm the only one operating. I'm monitoring your guys' sound. I'm monitoring all 3 cameras, and in this situation, we're just looking back at all the cameras. We have some people behind making sure the batteries are staying alive. But yeah, I mean, what a lot of people don't realize about Brave Wilderness, like the main team, is that it's just us three. It's me, you, and Coyote. And, we're very good at operating a lot of things under pressure. And that's what makes this podcast a little more relaxing and easier. To know, like, okay, we know these cameras, we know this sound bag, we know our equipment. So that helps us to be a little more at ease while we're sitting here and everything's rolling.
Yeah, we're constantly doing a lot of stuff in the field, 3-man team. But that's fun. And I think ultimately that lends to our backgrounds as to why we're doing Global Guardians.
Yeah.
I think both of us are always up for a challenge.
Yep.
We're up for learning. And once again, it's the people that we're meeting.
Exactly.
Right,
yep.
that we have met,
Yep.
some of the guests. So you briefly mentioned Casey.
Right.
Casey who?
Casey Anderson. Casey Anderson. Yeah, Casey is a grizzly bear, brown bear expert. Raised a bear from a cub. And one of the most eclectic people I've ever met. I mean, very, very smart. And he was the one that took us on our ultimate Alaska journey. And he's one of our guests coming up in the early season of Global Guardians. So, yeah, I mean, so many great people that we've already banked, that we've already filmed. Some of these people we're going to have to film again because their stories are so elaborate that they're going to require another 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And we want all of that to be told.
Tip of the iceberg, man. But yeah. What should the audience expect from Global Guardians?
I think the audience should expect that you are going to meet someone unique every time. And if it's just you and I on a studio session, you're going to hear and learn something unique that you may not have known about tech, about wildlife, or both combined. Because as you said, me and you are often sending each other reels about societal things, political things, tech things, wildlife things. I mean, we were just talking about the plane that flipped upside down when we were setting up for this podcast. Like, what's going on? So, there's always going to be something unique for us to talk about and learn because, as you've said, you want people to learn something because when you listen to a podcast, you want them to learn. And, for me, I'm actually not a big podcast listener. Like, oftentimes on trips, you want to listen to a podcast. I'm like, can we listen to music? I'm going to fall asleep. And you're like, oh, that's okay. You guys can fall asleep.
Here's the best way to get Trent and Coyote quiet on a trip when we're driving. Put on a podcast.
Put on a podcast.
I put on a podcast. They'll inevitably fall asleep. And now I'm just in the zone driving and I'm at peace. Yeah.
So I think that because we have this deferring stance on like what we like, I think that will really help because I'll bring a different perspective than you will because you have listened to a lot of podcasts. I don't. I'm going to learn from you and you're going to learn from me and the audience will learn from both of us and all the guests that we have. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm a bit of a reluctant host.
Yeah.
In that I love listening. And once again, an inspiration for the podcast was every time we are out in the field and we meet new guests, new people that are helping us in a production, I love the moments when we're just listening to their stories.
Yeah,
I love it.
I agree.
It's like they're mini podcasts in real life, right? You're in the moment. And so I love to listen, and maybe not as much as you. I'm not as much of a talker, I guess you could say.
I'm a talker for sure.
But I think that lends well to what we're trying to do here.
Yep.
Right? Between the both of us, I think we're going to have an exciting podcast series. Already, we've got so many guests that we have interviewed. Should we mention some of these guests?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. I think next week, when you're watching this podcast, the next episode will be Jim Cordoba.
Jim Cordoba, yep.
He is a Costa Rican conservationist, entomologist, community leader. He does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Good friend of ours.
Yeah.
So we interviewed Jim in the Osa Peninsula of Costa Rica,
right,
at the Rio Nuevo Nature Reserve.
Yep.
So that episode's going to come out next week. Let's see. We've got Casey Anderson, the bear expert, predatory mammal expert. We've got the self-proclaimed Florida wild woman, Christina Wilson.
Christina Wilson.
Biologist in the Florida Keys.
Yep.
We've got a cryptozoologist.
Yes, Pat Spain.
What's cryptozoology, Trent?
Cryptozoology is the study of the weird and unknown creatures that exist in folklore.
Bigfoots,
aliens,
Loch Ness monsters.
Well, according to Pat, you'll learn that maybe aliens are not cryptozoology.
We've got a sea turtle specialist, Laura Exley from Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And then we've got Tico, how should we describe Tico?
Not Costa Rican, because we thought he was Costa Rican. He's French.
The French wildlife photographer with a passion for jaguars.
Yeah.
He's doing some fantastic jaguar work in Costa Rica. In fact, he's got footage of melanistic jaguars.
Yeah, which there's said to not be very many of them.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, dude, privileged. We're privileged that we have these guests already, and there's a lot more guests ahead.
Well, and the cool thing about all the people that we filmed is they were really excited when we filmed. I know when we were filming Tico, he was like, oh, yeah, we filmed a podcast in this room before. And then he came to the set to film and was like, oh, this is a lot different. He's like, we were using iPhones. I'm like, oh, yeah, we bring the gauntlet for sure of all the equipment. That's what we're going to do. So yeah, a lot of people I think are excited to see it. And as I've said, we've been in it so much. We just watched Jim's episode through the other day to listen for any issues. And yeah, we spent a lot of time in it. And there's a lot to starting up a new channel, because what the audience will realize is that this is a standalone channel. This is not episodes that will live on Brave Wilderness.
Let's backtrack on that. So where is Global Guardian going to live within the universe of Brave Wilderness?
Yeah. It's gonna have its own channel. Global Guardians will be its own YouTube channel that is part of the Brave Wilderness ecosphere. But we want it to be standalone, to be it's like an aged up. It's an aged up version content.
Yeah, it's different content.
It's different.
Okay.
It's not fast paced, bites and stings or adventures. It's talking to people and the people that are in these environments and what they're doing. So, yeah, I mean, we want it to be different from the Brave Wilderness main channels, and it's also going to live in clips on TikTok and Instagram. So you're going to be able to find this on all the major social medias, and everything will be properly linked, as you'll see in this episode. So,
right. So whether it's the video format to the audio to the social clips,
exactly.
The one thing to add is generally, what we try to do different with Global Guardians is me or you, right, will be hopefully in the field with that expert that we're going to interview and spend a few days with them, get to know exactly what they do. And through that experience, it helps us generate like questions and a better, hopefully, interview.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yep.
But it makes for some really cool clips. And I would say already we've got a few crazy clips that we've, experiences that we've had with these guests. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where we go. And we look to the audience to give us pointers. Who do you guys want to hear from? Is there prominent people that you would like us to sit down and talk and interview with? Because nobody's out of the question. I mean, when it comes to the world of wildlife and tech, I mean, there's a lot of people to talk to. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the release. Looking forward to the feedback and the future of where we go with it.
Yeah. Global Guardians.
Global Guardians.
Stay tuned.
The podcast begins.